SaaS Therapy.
Welcome to SaaS Therapy, the show devoted to helping you save your most important business relationships, your customers. Congratulations. If you're listening to this episode, you have made it through all 8 modules of MEDDPICC. Now, by no means would we consider any of us an expert in MEDDPICC. This is something that we're always working at, but we appreciate your follow through and going through and trying to get a better understanding of each one of these modules. If you have any questions, find myself or Todd Kirk on LinkedIn. We'd be more than happy to do our best in answering your questions. So, final episode of MEDDPICC. We are at the last one, which is competition. And there's one key point I want to make about competition that I don't think a lot of people understand. And I love Simon Sinek, who describes this and talks about this, is you do have to have a worthy competitor. Like, competition is what makes us better. It keeps us strong. It keeps us in alignment. It helps us to make sure that we're doing our job correctly. Because again, if we didn't have competition, let's be honest, would we put in the effort sometimes? Would we consistently evolve and get better? Sometimes, we actually don't. We like to rest on our laurels a little bit. So when you hear competition is entering into the situation, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I want to maybe reframe your mindset around competition and look at it as a way to reestablish your value and commitment from your customer. I also believe it's usually a great way to upsell, to expand out in more licenses. Because as you start to really develop, why are they even considering a competition? It's usually because there's either something they feel your software doesn't do, B, that they might be, your competition says they do what you do, but they just do it cheaper, or 3, there's a new module that this competition, maybe that's their focal point, and maybe it's a second use case for you that you're able to get, again, that upsell of a different module. So competition, I'd love to have you reframe your mindset on that and actually see it as a good thing. Because again, competition brings out the best of us. So how do we best prepare for competition? As you hear that there is a competitor, as you hear that something's coming in, I think that's a great time to start to, again, test our champion. Is our champion really our champion? That's interesting. It doesn't actually catch me off guard, because in today's market, everybody's always seeing, hey, am I getting the best value of a software application? So I definitely understand that. Help me understand a little bit about what's the decision-making criteria that you're looking at as you bring in this competitor. Is there something that the competitor has said or a new initiative that they're bringing to light that's making you consider them? I'm curious, what are some of the strengths that you're seeing? What's the value that they're promising? Right? That's helpful information to know, because if you're talking through and saying, hey, what's the value that they're suggesting they could bring that's catching you and your leadership's team's eye, well, all of a sudden it might be that they just haven't explored that module, that upper license type that you have to offer them. Maybe they just, again, didn't know that your software could actually do that. So you can see where competition, to me, isn't necessarily something that you should be running from. It's something that you should start to look and embrace. So once you start to understand a little bit more about the competition, obviously you want to do your homework on that competition, right? Again, gather information. You don't need to always come back and say something. You're already in the door. You're the one that's in there, right? So being able just to ask questions, be calm, understand the data, what's the decision-making criteria. Now, when you come back, you can start to set up how you're different in a way that actually matters, because you know what the criteria is. You know why they're actually looking, right? So once you know that information, there's 2 key principles that I want you to walk through in regards to competition. Number 1, how are you setting landmines for the competition? How are you walking your customer through questions or criteria that they should set up so that when your competitor walks into them, it blows up the deal, right? So if you know that your customer loves both your qualitative and quantitative data, and your competitor only offers one of them, that's great to know. If they're coming in there and offering something, their focus is on a main module and it's a secondary use case for you, this is where you go to the second principle, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Customer, it took us, 6 to 8 months, I think that's what you mentioned, to get to the adoption that you wanted in getting users to change their behavior in these ways with our off application. I understand that by introducing an application to focus on this area, do you think that will cause some distraction of usage of the behaviors you were able to help your employees get to in that 6 to 8 months? Are we going to confuse the users? Would it make more sense if your users already now have trusted my application to just unlock this new module? Now, it might not have some of these benefits and features that this other software application is asking for, but when you identified the core criteria, it feels like we meet those. What if we ran a pilot for 30 days on that module and those success metrics to see if we could solve that? If we're already in the door, would it make sense first to pilot that module before you look at maybe bringing in something else that could disrupt the success that we've already had in this one area? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD. That is your strength with your competition, right? If you're already in the door because you have a renewal already going, utilize that fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Now, again, you're not using it as a scare tactic, but you're helping them walk themselves through the disruption that could actually cause. So principle number one, when you're dealing with competitors, don't get worried. Number two, see it as an opportunity to actually drive your value again and look for potential expansion. Number three, put in landmines for your competition. Study them, know the success metrics of your customer so you can put the landmines in there that they see that that's going to be disruption to the success they've already had and future success. And then number four, help them walk themselves through that fear, uncertainty, and doubt as they're going through this. As you do that, you're going to be able to separate yourself from your competitors because you've followed this MEDDPICC framework. You've been able to understand the things that drive the organization, the success that you've had, the economic buyer, the champion. All of these things fit together to help you, again, improve those relationships with your customers. Thank you again for joining us in this 8-part series of SaaS therapy around MEDDPICC.